Hello and welcome back to Roll 4. My name is Jared Alvarado and I'm a 3D character artist. Today we're going to be jumping in and taking a look at my most recent project, which I finished up a couple weeks ago. So we've got the high-res model, which we're going to take a look at, which we're going to talk about the shapes, the forms, the detail, that sort of stuff. And then we've got the low-res model as well, which is all ready for print. So we're going to talk a little bit about resolution and the best poly counts and that sort of stuff. So let's jump into Zbrush and take a look at the file. Okay, so we are in Zbrush, and this is what the final model looks like. So this is the high-res version, so we're sitting at about 6.5 million polys, or points, at the moment. I've got the other file loaded up as well, which is the decimated model, which is the print-ready file. So we're going to talk about resolution and how we have to go about managing the poly count to maximize detail, whilst also keeping that file size down. But to start off, I want to talk a little bit about how this project came about. So this demon character is based on an old project that I did about 1.5 years ago. This was when I was focusing more on the games industry. I took a course, a Udemy course by the amazing Abe Leal. I'm sure you guys know who that is. Great guy, and I will leave the Udemy course in the description below because it is fantastic. So it's based on that. Obviously, if the concept of that piece is a little more, I want to say, like Greece sort of focused in the type of genre, whereas I wanted to go a little more fantasy. So as you can see, like leaning into that fantasy theme, we've got like a lot of leather and a lot of buckles. We've got some like vials up here, which I think are quite interesting. Yeah, but the overall design was super fun to do. A couple of things to note are the skulls down here I have pulled from another project, which is super important because if you have already done the work for another project, there's no point doing it twice. Save the time and just grab it, pull it in, and you want to start sort of building out that library of like assets that you can pull in from. Big time saver. So let's have a look at the decimated model. Now, you can't really tell too much. I'm switching between the two now, but this is the lower resolution model, and you can really start to tell once you zoom in. You can see that this model is a lot lower poly. So this is about 150,000 points, which obviously is considerably smaller. Something to note is I knew that this model was going to be small. You know, it's just tabletop, so it's about 32-34 millimeters. But I could go with this poly count. I'd feel comfortable going up to maybe about 3 inches or so. Anything bigger than that, then you've got to start going up in points to sort of preserve that detail. It's also why this model isn't super detailed with like wrinkles and skin textures, because you're not gonna see that kind of thing in the print. The silhouette, the shape, the forms are a lot more important, especially in those smaller models. So yeah, if I was going anything bigger than this, I would probably go around 250 at the highest. That would work past 6 inches or so. So yeah, always pick the resolution of your model based on how big you want your print to be. So if we look at this one, this was the final sort of model before I posed it and everything. Obviously, I did a little bit of posing on the hand just to hold that skull in place, just so I could read narratively what was happening. I do also like to drop in some rough poly paint blocks of colour just to help me read what's happening a little bit easier. And I like to obviously contrast with the different materials as well. So we got some metal and some sort of shinier material on those vials there. But yeah, as you can see, this is very stiff looking. The wings are very flat. The arms are quite rigid, and he's very central and locked in position. Obviously, this helps if you are sculpting in symmetry. It saves a lot of time. But as a model, it doesn't really work because it just doesn't look appealing at all. So you don't have to do a lot, but just breaking that symmetry and doing some slight adjustments to the poses can go a very, very long way. So if we look at this, you got that T pose there, but then even doing something like that, which is what more closer to what the final print looks like. Dropping those shoulders, bringing those arms down, relaxing the pose throughout, does a lot. So I've turned the body off to the side so it's not so straight on, and then turned the head so that you've got a bit of contrast with the positions of the different body parts. The wings, I think, do the most of the heavy lifting here. I mean, if I switch between the two like that compared to that, is a lot better. Bringing the wings down and then bending them around the character creates a lot of sort of visual interest, and sort of leads it all back up. So that helps a lot. A few things that I want to note is when you're starting a project, mine always look like this. This is how I start my projects. It's just a big lump. It's not appealing at all. Super low res, but you want to build up those shapes over time, and it takes time. It does. And it's going to be ugly a lot of the time as well. I mean, this is what I was looking at about halfway through. So a lot of the time it's persevering. Now, it is important to mention that I do have all of the stuff in there that I need, but it's not pretty, and it isn't until I'd say like the last 5%. That's when you really start to see it coming together. This is where you can start to see it, and then finishing with that. So definitely, if you are sculpting, then stick it out. Make sure that you see it to the end. So I have contacted a company, Paragon Star Prints, currently in the process of printing this character. I think we will jump to there. So it's a couple of days later, and I have just received the package from Paragon Prints, which have successfully delivered these little guys, which I'm going to show off now. We're going to start with the 34mm. It's a little tricky to show you guys this because of how small it is, but I'm going to try it. And if I'm looking at my wrist, it's because I've got my watch mirroring. So there is the first one. Don't worry, I'm going to set these guys down in a second and get some close-ups. But so it is, it is tiny. Tiny, but it looks really, really good. And then moving on to the 3-inch figure. This looks awesome. I mean, it's managed to capture everything. Yeah, it looks super cool, and I'm very, very happy with the outcome. Yeah, so I'm going to set these guys down and hopefully get some really, really nice pictures of them, and then I'll probably put those at the end. So yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this video and you want to support me in what I'm doing, then please do consider clicking the link down below and visiting my Cults store page, where you can now purchase this STL file to print it at home. It won't cost much. It'll just be a couple of quid, and it just helps support me in what I'm doing. I'd love to see some of the figures that you guys print and paint, so please do tag me on social media, and yeah, get out there, get printing, get painting. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.